Well, hello, good morning, and welcome into the Steven Singer Studios. My name is Marc Farzetta, and welcome into the Farzy Show. Thanks for joining us this morning. A little bit later on, we're going to have our good friend Smitty of Barstool Sports joining the program. He'll walk us through some things going on right now with the 76ers, give his takes on Kyle Lowry, as well as talking about the Philadelphia Eagles and the state that they're in right now. So we got all that going forward, plus a fun morning rush planned for you. Another big bet. I don't know what it is. I just can't lose. I actually ended up making three bets last night. And one of the bets I made, I didn't even know I could make it, but I made it and I won. So we'll talk about that when the show wraps up with the big bet segment at the end of the program. But let's start with this. The 76ers actually did something yesterday that was amazing. The Sixers, they held off the Raptors on the road and wait for it, they won. They beat the Raptors on the road, not in Toronto, obviously, in Tampa, but they beat the Raptors on the road. This one in Tampa for the first time since 2012. Just drink that in for a second. But here's what was wild to me. I never had this feeling watching watching a game like this against the Raptors as I punch my microphone with excitement. Um, Here's what happened. The Sixers looked god awful in a couple of different spots in this game. God awful. And I looked at the score, and they were still up 10. Now, towards the end of the game, it started to get me a little worried. But really, throughout, I thought, oh, they got this. Even at the end, I wasn't even worried they were going to lose the game. I was worried that they weren't going to cover, unfortunately. But they did cover, and they won. But throughout the game, I felt comfortable that they were going to win that game, even without Seth Curry in the lineup, because you had Furkan Korkmaz drop you 16 points in the first quarter, essentially, first half yesterday, and was going bonkers for the Sixers. They put him in the starting lineup. Doc Rivers puts him in the starting lineup. I guess Isaiah Joe was the shake-up Furkan Korkmaz needed to get a little motivation going for himself, and he just goes bonkers. He was 1 for 12 in his last 5 games going into last night, and it was like 4 for 6 in the first quarter last night alone. So, yeah, I would say he got off that old schneid and was starting to drop some threes, and that was great to see because they need that help, not just now in the starting 5, but they're going to need that kind of help off the bench. That's what we've been talking about for the last couple of days now as to what the Sixers can do with help coming off the bench. You hope Furkan, although, and Doc Rivers pointed this out after the game. Yeah, sure, Furkan Korkmaz looked good in that game playing with the starters. He had a lot more space. He had more room to throw up those threes. Guys were collapsing on other players, so he was open on the perimeter. Whatever it is, sometimes I don't care who was with him. I don't care if he was starting or coming off the bench. You just need to do something positive to get your confidence back because every shooter needs to believe if this one isn't going in, the next one is going in. So anything that helps Furkan Korkmaz's confidence right now, I'm all for. And last night was the perfect example of that. So kudos to Furkan Korkmaz for stepping up huge last night. Because if they don't get that kind of start to that game, I don't think they're able to close it out through the rest of that game, and I don't think they're able to withstand rushes from the Raptors the way they did at the end of the at the end of the first half, because that was a little 3-minute stretch where it was like, are you guys going to be okay? Is Toronto that much in your head? Because also in the fourth quarter, you started to feel as if Toronto was very much in their head. And we've talked about the Flyers having the Bruins in their head. Well, the Raptors very much in the Sixers' head when they're not playing in South Philadelphia. And you start to see loose ball fouls. You start to see just some dumb basketball, just overall dumb basketball with Tobias Harris turning it over. Then you saw Danny Green turn it over with an atrocious pass when he was trying to break a press. That was just ridiculous. But you just saw little mental lapses throughout that game that made you go, okay, guys, you're gonna settle this in, right? I'm sure you got this. You got this. And it was great to see with Joel Embiid not having his prototypical 25-point, 30-point type of night for the Sixers. It was great to see guys like Tobias Harris step up and get it done. Ben Simmons, I thought one of the a great bet for last night's game was going to be Ben Simmons getting the over on his points. I think he went into the last night at about 18 and a half, 19. And I thought that would be a shoo-in. especially if you're not going to have Joel Embiid going. You don't have Seth Curry in the lineup. That would be a game Ben Simmons really puts it. Plus, the games that they've played against the Raptors so far, the amount of double teams they've thrown in Joel Embiid's way, you knew it was going to be a big night for him. So you figure, all right, well, this will be one of the games that Ben Simmons goes off and goes off by Ben Simmons standards, goes off, get you 25, 30 points maybe. Yeah, that wasn't the case last night, unfortunately. But one of the great things you could take away from last night's game, again, is just Joel Embiid not having that prototypical night, being able to do it on all other ends of the court or all other aspects of the game last night. It was great to see that, but then see other guys step up when their normal regular score wasn't getting it done, at least in the scoring category last night. But still, he made his foul shots, and after that, you see Ben Simmons continue to hit his foul shots. Ben Simmons, 64% free throw shooter for his career, is shooting 74% right now from the free throw line in the month of February. That is fantastic. That's what you want to see. See, I've always said that if the foul shot comes, then maybe the jump shot's right around the corner. And although, especially for a now 3-time All-Star like Ben Simmons is, that jump shot, maybe it's not coming. But I'll take the free throw shooter, Ben Simmons, going to the rim, being aggressive, getting fouled, maybe getting somebody else on the other team into foul trouble, going to the line, picking up those free throws, picking up those points, because that's a huge difference in the basketball game. Making that, and he was like 5 for 6 last night. That's all you need from Ben. Right now, that's all you need from Ben Simmons in the offensive game. Show me that much improvement in scoring that you can go to the rim, get fouled, go to the line, and hit those shots and make sure you pick up those points for your team. That's what I need right now. And I think that's what this team needs right now, especially if Toby's going to be a great second scorer for this team and Joel Embiid's going to be leading the charge as one of the, not just leading scorers for the team, obviously, the leading scorer for the team, but one of the leading scorers in the NBA right now and will be throughout the rest of the season. So that's what you want to see from this squad. When one guy's not doing well, the other guy's picking it up. And also a guy like Ben Simmons doing something that he doesn't normally do well, showing some signs of improvement. And when you go back to Ben's game against the Utah Jazz, he said after that game, when he comes out, he wants to make sure that he is aggressive as always. And he also wants to make sure that when he steps onto the court, he is changing his mindset in terms of being able to get to that line and being able to pick up those points. Because if it's just a player's mentality that he's got to crack through, a mental block, whatever you want to call it, if this is the moment where he gets to turn the tides a little bit for himself, then you know what? Let it happen. It's going to happen at some point. It was going to happen at some point. One of the guys I always bring up, ironically enough, is one of the guys from the Utah Jazz, one of the best ever from the Utah Jazz. Karl Malone was known for his free throw shooting throughout his career. His first 2-3 years in the league, he was not a good free throw shooter. Later became one of the best big men to do it. That could be something to be said for Ben Simmons. Has a couple of years of struggling before he finally settles in and realizes that part of the game has to come along. Last night was another good example of that for Ben. And this entire month of February right now has been a good example of Ben Simmons trying to improve his game when it comes to one of the aspects we've been complaining about. Now, I'm not a three-point Ben Simmons guy. I've never been. I'm a mid-range guy. I've always been a free throw guy. No matter who you are in the NBA, you should make your free throws. Kids, practice your free throws. But with Ben being able to do that last night, it lets you see that one step forward that we wait a long time to see. Maybe the mid-range game is next, and I certainly hope it is. Now, this was something that I found interesting last night, and credit to Tom Moore, Sixers writer Tom Moore, and columnist, for pointing this out. He did an interview with Doc Rivers, and I just felt this is interesting. Did an interview with Doc Rivers, and Doc Rivers told him that he's trying to draw up more plays for Tobias Harris to go to his left, and right-handed shooter, and for Tobias Harris to go to his left, he was trying to draw up more plays because he's comfortable for whatever reason in going left. He's very comfortable in going left. And Doc Rivers said he asked Tobias Harris why he never told Brett Brown to draw up plays for him to go to his left, where he's been a lot better. We've all seen the improvement from Tobias Harris this year. And Tobias's response, according to Doc Rivers via Tom Moore, was because Brett never drew up the play for him to go left. He drew up the play for him to go right. If you're a player, wouldn't you say, especially a veteran like Tobias Harris, and even last year, especially a leader on the team, the leader on the team before Joe seemed like he really took that role over this year. If you're Tobias Harris, What did you Hey, coach, by the way, this is one thing we should incorporate because I'm pretty good at doing this thing. I know, yeah, you could also say Brett Brown should know that he likes to go left and know that he's good going left. We should give him that opportunity to go left. If I'm the head coach, that seems like something I would do. But that apparently wasn't something with Brett Brown. But after a while, if you're a player, wouldn't you speak up a little bit? Like first, it's on the coach to know his player, know what he's good at, and use it, and the scouting report and all that. But you've played against Tobias Harris enough times to know that maybe you shouldn't let him go left because he's good at that. And maybe if you're the Sixers and you acquire him, you should allow him to do that. I just found it interesting. It just showed what I thought would be a miscommunication, what I thought to be a miscommunication in the Brett Brown era. And maybe we would have gotten a little bit of this about this version of Tobias Harris in the previous year and a half he was here with the Sixers. Thought that was an interesting thing, and it jumped out to me last night when I saw that. I actually saw that after the game. And as far as Tobias Harris goes in the All-Star game, I mentioned Ben Simmons, and he makes it to his third All-Star game. Tobias Harris still has not made an All-Star team. And I think listening to Mark Jackson last night on NBC Sports Philly, I think he summed it up rather well. I hate the word fringe. It's like he's almost there, but it's not. It sounds almost negative, right? Tobias Harris, you could say, is a fringe all-star. He's been close a few times. There's no better example than this time right here. Maybe than his previous time under Doc Rivers out in L.A. with the Clippers. But this year, I'm not shocked he didn't make the all-star team by any means. The only reason I really thought he would make it, the thing that would give him the edge is the same thing that Doc Rivers said after the game last night, which was that the Sixers are the best team in the Eastern Conference. So if you're the number one team in the Eastern Conference, you just might get yourself 3 All-Stars in the game. Wasn't meant to be. But here's what Mark Jackson said about Tobias Harris not making the All-Star team. He didn't use the word fringe. Oh, well, he's always a fringe All-Star. No, he used this, a solid pro. Like, Tobias Harris isn't a guy that you got to worry about. You pretty much know every single night what you're going to get from Tobias Harris. And last night's a good example of that. Joe's not getting it going. You're missing a starter, your best three-point shooter in Seth Curry. Sixers are one of the worst teams in made threes, and yet Seth Curry is one of the best guys in the league so far. He's been to this point in making threes. And Tobias Harris will step up, make you some threes, made a big one last night to really put the game officially out of reach for the Raptors, made a big 3 last night. He was getting rebounds, and he was really attacking the rim when called upon to do so. You feel like you're gonna get that every single night from Tobias Harris, but you never feel like you're gonna get that type of night from him that is just going to dominate, where he's just gonna dominate. Oh, the Toby game. The Toby game really doesn't happen. He's just so steady. He's there every single night. He's showing up. He's hustling. You never see him as a lackadaisical type of person or type of player. He goes out there and does what he's supposed to do. I thought solid pro, consummate professional. The way Mark Jackson put it last night on the postgame show, I thought was the perfect way to describe it, because previously in my brain, I'm just thinking, he's a fringe all-star. And that always, to me, sounds like it has a negative connotation, like he's on the outside looking at it. And he is, but it doesn't leave on a high note. The high note is consummate pro. Like, he's a guy you never have to be worried about, extremely consistent player. And the Sixers wouldn't be where they are right now without the play of Tobias Harris. Now, we all know who the MVP is. We all know who the MVP of the league, as far as I'm concerned, is right now. I think it's a 2-horse race. It comes down to LeBron, and it comes down to our boy Joel Embiid. But what you're going to get every night from Joel Embiid. Last night was an example, and you saw Ben Simmons, Tobias Harris, and Furkan Korkmaz step up. And you also saw this. How good was it just to have Shake Milton coming off the bench for you? It felt great just to see that. This was his second game back after missing a lot of time with the ankle injury, a couple of games with the ankle injury. And he looked like he was within himself again, which was good. He gave you 11 points off the bench. So hopefully the Sixers, when they return to the hardwood tomorrow night for a 7 o'clock tip-off against the Dallas Mavericks, they'll have a little bit better version of maybe Furkan Korkmaz coming off the bench if Seth Curry is back from his ankle injury. So we'll see how that goes. One more thing from last night's game, and this really is more so what happened after the game in Doc Rivers' press conference. Found this interesting. Doc Rivers said that he called around the NBA. So how it works is coaches will call on other coaches because they're voting for the reserves in the All-Star game. And they'll say, hey, Ben Simmons really been great. You should really vote for him in the All-Star game. Tobias Harris has been awesome for us. We're the best team in the East. Tobias Harris, let's go. And for lack of a better term, they'll kind of campaign for their guys. Drew Holiday was an all-star because Doug Collins made a lot of calls around the league. This was before modern day Drew Holiday. Andre Iguodala was an all-star here with the Sixers because Doug Collins kind of campaigned for him to get into the all-star game, which was great. Tobias Harris was getting calls from Doc Rivers was giving calls on behalf of Tobias Harris around the league to try to get him in. But he was also doing the same thing for Ben. And this is where I'll go back to the point I just made a minute ago. Maybe the jump shot stuff is out the window as far as the rest of the league is concerned with Ben Simmons, because Doc Rivers said when he called on other coaches about Ben and Tobias, they were shocked that they were getting a call from Doc Rivers endorsing Ben Simmons, as if to say, you don't need to do this for Ben. He's already got our vote. Ben's an all-star. And for the guy that I have talked about as the biggest lightning rod in the city right now, especially now that the Wentz drama is over, Ben Simmons is the leader of hot takes in our city by far. And the amount of people that want to jump on Ben and trash everything else he does because he doesn't do this one thing. Now this one thing after he's making his free throws, because he doesn't do this one thing, he's all of a sudden garbage. You can trade him at any cost. No, or any opportunity. Yeah, no, that's not it. If the rest of the league, and Ben even said this after the game as well, if the rest of the league, the coaches are willing to acknowledge that he is an all-star and he's that good a player because of how great a defender he is and how great he is at going to the rim and how great of a facilitator he is, then I think other people should realize, if the coaches around the league are doing it, then I think other people should realize how special a commodity a guy like Ben Simmons is. And I love having him on the Sixers. I would have entertained the James Harden stuff, but that's an MVP. That's not throwing him into any trade possible. And that's not saying the guy's garbage. The guy's an all-star, well-deserved, 3 times over an all-star in the NBA. And it's great to see the fact that the foul, I can't get over the foul shots. I'm just giddy over the foul shots. So, like I said, Sixers, they got the Mavericks tomorrow night. Flyers back on the ice tonight against the Rangers. Great to see the captain, Claude Giroux, back from COVID protocol. His wife was posting pictures. Lovely wife, Ryan, was posting pictures of him and his son, Gavin, getting together for the first time. You got to be isolated when you got the COVID protocol. So can't be around anybody. He was around his family again. Beautiful. Great to see that. So the Flyers are back on the ice. Hopefully they bounce back from a tough loss in Lake Tahoe to those Bruins. At least they'll get their captain back. So looking forward to see that. Still a bunch of guys on the COVID protocol list after that. Something else I want to get into today, and this is the big story. I know it led a lot of things throughout the world yesterday. Tiger Woods' car accident. I found out about this story from my mom. Now, when I find out things from my mom, that means it's transcend. Now, my mom is a sports fan, and she certainly knows who Tiger Woods is. But that just shows you how much one particular person can transcend sports and appeal to the mass audience, if you will. I was painting pretty much all day yesterday, painting the house, painting the ceiling. My neck hurts like hell. And I was painting the house yesterday, and I didn't have my phone on me. And it was much like the Carson Wentz situation, although I found out about that as soon as I was done shoveling snow. But I come in, at least I found out about that through my phone, through Shefty and Chris Mortensen. And I put down the paint roller, and I'm like rubbing my neck, and I had to FaceTime my parents for a second. And my mom goes, "Did you hear about Tiger Woods?" And I'm like, "Huh? What happened?" A car accident. I'm like, "Oh my God." And I immediately say, "Okay, thanks, guys. Love you. Bye." And we already conducted our business. We had the pleasantries. They saw their granddaughter. It was beautiful. So I go on the phone, and I'm reading up everything. I watched a couple of news clips, and the press conference was just going on at that point with the police department of Los Angeles, I believe. And they're talking about how he was responsive, how he was really banged up. They didn't have any evidence of him being under the influence or anything like that. He was going on a notoriously dangerous road in a suburb of Los Angeles, apparently on his way to do an appearance with, I think, Drew Brees and Justin Herbert was another one that he was supposed to meet up with. And his car hit the median, hit a sign, and then rolled down a hill, it looked like. And you look at the car, and you're like, he's okay in terms of not life-threatening. You look at the car, and you're thinking, oh, my God, no, that looks terrible. But the police are telling you they took him to a hospital. And it turns out, yeah, they had to rush him to a hospital. But the one report I heard was that they didn't have to rush him to the nearest hospital. They could go to the right hospital to treat his injuries, which were broken bones in his legs and a broken ankle, as well as shattered ankle, and a fibula and tibula broken as well. So the fact that they had time to be specific was good. Definitely a good sign. The fact that he was responsive was good. Definitely a good sign. But wish him nothing but the best as far as the road to recovery goes here. And they released a statement through his agent initially telling people what had happened. And then they released another statement last night, basically thanking everybody for their well wishes. But a lot of doctors, or what the doctors are saying now, is that it's going to be multiple surgeries for Tiger Woods in the not too distant future, maybe over the next couple of months, to try to get him back into shape and playing golf again, which after thinking of his family and his kids, I'm sure that's the next thing on his mind after that. But at least he's okay in terms of non-life threatening, and wish him nothing but the best. But one of those things that you see the car wreck and you go, oh, okay, wait, he's okay? More or less in terms of life-threatening injuries? Okay, wow. Not too many people walk away from that. And the police even said that yesterday during the press conference, saying he's lucky to be in a situation where he doesn't have life-threatening injuries. So, wow, it's an epic thing, and I know people are going to be following that over the next couple of months and Tiger's road to recovery. We got some other stories we're going to get to in our morning rush, including what happened around the NBA last night. We have our social media check-in. I see some people on YouTube. I'll be following you guys and checking up on your comments and all that throughout the program. And then we have our big bet segment to round out the show as per usual. Before we get to our friend Smitty, Barstool Smitty, we will tell you about Steven Singer of Steven Singer Jewelers. My good friend Steven Singer loves that he is in the love business. He always likes to say he's in the love business because he is in the love business. He wants you to come into the store and feel the love when you're at Steven Singer Jewelers, the other corner of 8th and Walnut, or simply when you log on to IHateStevenSinger.com. And how does Steven show the love in the love business? This is what Steven does. Respect. You walk in the door, you don't have to worry about negotiating. You don't have to worry about haggling. You come in there and everything is already at the perfect price. And you know how else he shows respect? He hires real expert jewelers to walk you through everything. So when you walk into the store or you go online, you know the people you're dealing with are pros, real experts in the jewelry business. Go to the other corner of 8th and Walnut, or do what I do. Go to IHateStevenSinger.com. Check out the inventory. Also, use the appointment scheduler to make yourself an appointment. They're adhering to all CDC guidelines, and they want to make sure that the store never gets too crowded for you to walk in. So you make your appointment. You show up, they open the door for you, go in, the plexiglass is up and all that, and a real jewelry expert will walk you through everything they have to offer. Do what I do. Go to IHateStevenSinger.com for a special gift. That's someone special in your life, or you want to pop the question, no better place than Steven Singer Jewelers. Go to IHateStevenSinger.com at the other corner of 8th and Walnut. I always like catching up with this man, Barstool Smitty, never short of raw emotion. Never short of raw emotion. And that's who joins us now on the Zatos Investments guest line. Barstool Smitty, local guy representing Philly very well, the national scene with them Barstool fellas. What's going on there, Smitty?
Oh, we're doing good. Fresh off a Sixers W, baby. What can be better?
Nothing can be better. And what was so great about this win was that you actually needed the bench to help you out here. I mean, Furkan, he actually starts in this game, gets you 19 points, and you had guys stepping up because Joel Embiid did not have his typical game. That was the best part of the night.
Yeah, Furkan basically saved his entire existence in one quarter. I was not a Furkan fan all season, and I think I have a right not to be, because all he needs to do is spot up and shoot. He gets the ball, he knocks it down. Because if he doesn't do that, he's not worth anything. And he hasn't been worth anything all year. And I'm happy to see that he was able to contribute in the first quarter, about 3 points the rest of the way. But what are you going to do?
It was a big 3 points the rest of the way.
It was a big 3 points. Now they need help on the bench. They need a shooter that can create their own shots. But it was good to see Furkan, have a little bit of success with Isaiah Joe breathing down his nuts.
That's exactly what he needed for motivation, is Isaiah Joe trying to be the shake-up guy. Good job by Doc Rivers there. I want to get to this because they beat the Raptors finally not in Toronto, in Tampa, but you get it. So they beat the Raptors away from home. But there's this rumor out there right now that says the Sixers could very well be interested or are very much interested in Kyle Lowry. Do you want to see Kyle Lowry in a 76ers uniform?
Well, first of all, that was the first loss in the last 17 games without Kyle Lowry for the Raptors. So I don't understand why they want him to stay there. But, I mean, he's a great player. He's 34 years old. Villanova pride. I'll be honest, if the Sixers can get him without giving up anything, I would love him. I would love him on the team. But he would certainly help a championship run for this year. But if you're talking about giving up, I saw a report for what, Danny Green, Seth Curry, and Thibault and a first.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
No, I'm not doing that. No, I'm not doing that.
You can't shake it up too much. They're still good. They just need like one more shooter on this team that can create his own shots. And Lowry would fit if they don't give up anything.
Yeah, no, Lowry would definitely fit. I like the idea of Zach LaVine, but I know that would actually cost you. I don't mind the first round picks.
How about Bradley Beal? Would you take Bradley Beal on the team?
Absolutely, I would take Bradley Beal on this team.
I mean, they're not going to get LaVine, so it's worthless.
Well, I'm just saying, the Bulls might be tempted to go down that rebuild mode. They might want the picks, and I'll cross my fingers for that if I can.
Yeah, I will give up the next 5 first round picks for Zach LaVine right now. Like,
I just remember before the season, there was a little rumble. There's some rumblings going on about the Sixers being interested in getting him. And, Daryl Morey is good at fleecing them teams sometimes.
And I would not hate it. Again, LaVine, I'd give up a little bit more. I would give up a Danny Green and a Thibault right now for LaVine. I would even give up a Maxey. And I like Maxey a lot. I like Thibault a lot. But LaVine's a game changer, especially if you put him with this squad.
No doubt about it. Now, the reserves came out for the NBA All-Star game. Ben Simmons did make it to his third All-Star game as a reserve. Joel Embiid obviously already in now as a starter again. Ben Simmons making an All-Star team. Like, I don't necessarily hate it, but I do get on Ben for the jump shot issue. It's not the end-all, be-all. I'm not putting him in every single trade rumor that ever existed because of it, but it does make me think, if he didn't make an all-star team, would that motivate him to get that mid-range game a little bit?
Don't be that guy, Mark.
I have to be that guy.
I know you need to be that guy. But don't be like every other sports talk junkie. He's just going for the low-hanging fruit. There's so much more that Ben Simmons does that Ben Simmons contributes besides not having that mid to three-point range jump shot. Obviously, we know that if he had that shot, he'd be a first ballot Hall of Famer already. It's the only thing holding him back from being a generational player. And I get it. That's what frustrates us. We see the problem, and it's not fixed. And that's an issue. But right here, right now, he doesn't need it. He might need it in the playoffs eventually, but he doesn't need it right now for this team to be successful. He plays balls to the walls defense. He contributes on the court in ways that normal people don't see. The Sixers, I'm not sure if the stat holds up because this was like a week or two ago, but at one point the Sixers were the number 1 3-point shooting team when Ben Simmons was on the court, and when he was off the court they were number 28 in the NBA. Big freaking difference.
Sure.
So Ben Simmons does not need to shoot a mid-range jumper right now. Obviously he doesn't need to shoot to score after the last 2 games when he's putting up 28 and 42
and making his foul shots.
I mean, the guy's doing everything he can. This is a third All-Star appearance. His third one. Just because he was the number 1 overall pick doesn't mean he needs to put up 30 a night. I would much rather him put up the 16, 9, and 7 rather than 22, 5, and 2 right now. No, because, I mean, he just spreads the ball out. He opens up the court. If he was so concerned about chucking it, AI style 30 times a game, then this team might not be the number 1 team in the East.
You're absolutely right. But that's the other side of the sports talk genre there is like there's no middle ground with him. The reason I want Ben to have a mid-range game is simply for this: floor spacing. That's the only reason. It's not for him to be an AI or even be a 25, 30 point a night type of guy. It's that as a point guard, if you could bring a defender up to guard you on the perimeter, a guy that you can also, by the way, blow by, go to the rim and attack the rim, that would open up the game, not just for him, but also for Joel Embiid. It would open up things a little bit more for Seth Curry. I mean, I just think that changes kind of the flow of the game, and Tobias Harris. I think it changes the flow of the game, but you're right. I don't need him to be that guy, that 25, 30-point guy. I just want him to be a guy that defenses have to think about covering if he is out there on the perimeter or 15, 20 feet away from the basket.
And you're not wrong, and it frustrates me too that if he was just that threat where somebody just had to be there with a hand up, it creates that much more space, but it's not going to change midseason. Give him confidence, let him flow, and he's the number one first-team all-world defensive player of the life. Like, this guy, he's a great ball player. Give him some credit. Give him some confidence. He's 24 years old. He's 24 years old.
Yeah, he's a pup.
24 years old.
He's just a pup.
Let him go.
I got to say it again, though. I am basking in the free throws. I'm basking in the free throws.
He must have, spent a weekend in Herb McGee's basement just shooting pop shot. Because it really, overnight, he went from a 60% free throw shooter to an 80%.
Any reference to Herb McGee on this show is very welcome. Thank you for doing that. Now, next up, you got to work in a Herb McGee comment on the First Time, Long Time program, which is a great program, by the way. You guys do a great job with that podcast on Barstool. People can check it out as well. And now, how about this? So you work with a bunch of guys, obviously, that aren't all like yourself, a born and bred Philadelphia area type of guy, right? You work with guys with all different types of perspectives, fan loyalties, and all that.
Worse, I work with a bunch of Boston guys who have one perspective.
Oh, come on,
exactly.
Come on, guys.
Exactly. So they're not worldly at all. They just are spoiled. And
I get it. You think you're better than me? I get it. I get it. When you talk about Joel Embiid and the possibility of him being an MVP of the National Basketball Association, is that something that A, you believe? And B, is that something that those Bostonites, those Bostonians around you would actually support because he has been playing that well? Last night, of course, was not the best example of his game. However, when that conversation gets brought up, how is it taken by your coworkers?
For the Bostonians will die on the proven in the playoffs hill, which means absolutely nothing towards this year's MVP race.
Correct.
So therefore, they mean nothing to the conversation. I think that Joel Embiid will be. See, I obviously would give it to him because I'm biased.
Sure,
but I do think LeBron's having an incredible year. I think Jokic is putting up stats that are better than Embiid right now, just numbers wise. But if you actually look at the definition of most valuable player and on how each individual person sees it. I put Embiid over those two. Honestly, I don't think Embiid will get it solely because they will blow LeBron at his old age. And B, load management. I mean, Embiid's not exactly being quote unquote rested, every couple of games. But if his back's tightening up, he's got to sit. There's There's no reason to force it. So in the end, I don't think he might have enough games compared to those two.
Okay. Let me ask you this then. Do they at least acknowledge then that he is in the running? He is one of those three guys that are very okay. They at least give him that respect.
Oh yeah. It's more of a people don't understand Ben Simmons on a national level, or they don't understand the Eagles situation at all either. They just think that that what they see is what they get right here, right now. And obviously that's not the case. It goes back.
Well, I mean, speaking of the Eagles there for a second, I don't think you or I understand what the Eagles are doing. So we might not be on the same page as far as that's concerned.
I don't think the Eagles understand what the Eagles are doing.
It's a good point. Absolutely. I mean, they certainly didn't expect to fire Doug Peterson. I don't think they expected Doug to kind of put him on the table and say, hey, look, this is what I want to do. And then Jeffrey Lurie goes, well, we don't. And then see you later, Doug. And that was the end of that. By the way, I'm riding Howie out for as long as this could possibly take. And by the way, there's also the Jalen Hurts. They won't necessarily commit to Jalen Hurts, which makes me start thinking they are thinking about a quarterback in this draft, early in this draft.
Which is embarrassing. Oh, I'm not even surprised they'd be thinking about 1 at 6. I think they might pull a Washington football team move when they drafted RG3 and trade back into the first round and get a Kirk Cousins. Can you imagine if they take Well, I mean, taking 2 quarterbacks in the first round or 2, that'd
Ooh,
be one thing.
ooh.
Like,
Hey, quarterback factory.
it is a quarterback factory. Yeah, great quote, Howie. If they take a quarterback at 6, and this is the root of the problem here. And imagine they take Wilson or Fields if he drops 6, or the North Dakota State kid, who are probably all fine players. There's no Trevor Lawrence. There's Trevor Lawrence and the rest. That will be the 3rd franchise quarterback Howie gives this team or makes this team commit to in 20 months, in which has not gone through a major injury or retirement. Okay, how is that possible?
I don't know.
How is that? How is it? Jeffrey Lurie talks about accountability. What's more accountable? Like, how can you not see that the root of the issue, the accountable one, is the one burning the freaking franchise to the ground? And what's the worst thing about it is Jeffrey Lurie is allowing the arsonist who is burning it to the ground build it back up, and he's giving them matches and gasoline and complimenting them. Like, I just don't understand it. I don't get it. There's no reason that the Eagles should be in this position right now.
The thing that bothers me is it's not just the quarterbacks, and that is a great point about the quarterbacks, but then there's also Chip Kelly, then there's Doug Peterson, and now there's Nick Sirianni.
Four coaching regimes in 7 years.
How
4.
At what point do you not need reports anymore to tell you that, quote unquote, the problem is still there when coaches have moved on, quarterbacks have moved on, other front office personnel have moved on? At what point, if you're Jeffrey Lurie, do you get to where you say, I guess Howie's not it anymore, I got to move on?
We were joking that Jeffrey Lurie must be like a Kim Jong-un presence in the NovaCare complex, where like people just ball wash him left and right and say everything's great. And you might have shot 120 on 18 and over Brook, but you know what? Well, we'll count it as a 48. Like, they must keep this guy in some sort of like confidence bubble, like where he's just surrounded by yes men, where it's led by Howie, because the only way that I think at this point Lurie is going to see the issue and change his mind is if the Eagles do become the laughing stock of the NFL and of the media, and people are coming at the organization and Lurie and laughing at him. And to be honest, if we're not there yet, we're not that far off.
Well, let me throw this to you here, because I laid out a scenario yesterday that I truly believe would be the end-all, be-all of Howie Roseman as the guy with final say here on the roster and the Philadelphia Eagles. The end-all, be-all would be they don't draft well, let's put it this way. They don't invest one of the early draft picks in a quarterback. I think they're going to draft a quarterback. I know they're going to draft a quarterback. I'm not sure right now it's going to happen at 6 or even in the 2nd round. They're going to draft somebody probably in the 4th, 5th, 6th round maybe. They need depth. They only have one guy under contract right now, and that's Jalen Hurts. So they draft a guy late, and they bring in an older player. They bring in a Ryan Fitzpatrick type of guy, whatever, somebody that's been around. They bring him. He's certainly been around more than most. And they bring that guy in, and then week 4 or 5 of the Jalen Hurts era, he just looks terrible, and he's looked terrible to start the season. And then that old statesman has to come in and play. If that happens, and Howie invested and passed up on an opportunity to draft a quarterback in this draft early, one that could be a franchise quarterback, and he's got to bench the guy that he already invested in Jalen Hurts that also ruined Carson Wentz's existence here in Philadelphia finally, if that's the case, I think that's when Jeffrey Lurie steps in, when he identifies the real problem, the guy that's doing all the drafting here, the guy that's stocking the cupboard with things that have already expired. That's the only instance I see Jeffrey Lurie actually firing Howie Roseman after or during this season.
I don't disagree with that. And I like Jalen Hurts definitely as a person. And I want to see kind of what he can do as the number one guy. But you have to realize that he last year was a Saints team actually showing up in the first half away from not winning a football game. So, do I think Jalen Hurts is the guy? Probably not. That's why he was projected to go, 3rd, 4th round, and we took him in the 2nd for some reason. My biggest fear, and which I think is the reality at this point, is Howie has convinced Lurie that this year doesn't matter anyway because it's a rebuilding year. So they theoretically can go 0-16, and the franchise can just be ruined even further. And then the following year would need to show drastic improvement before anything happens.
We're a lost cause, aren't we? We're a lost cause, right? Unless Jalen Hurts completely balls out, then the next thing you know is there is no rebuild, and we're just fine and dandy from this point out.
The ball's out to who? Greg Ward?
That's the thing. They have like two receivers right now. Well, no, they got Jalen Reagor, Greg Ward, and J.J. Arcega-Whiteside. That's pretty much what we got going on. And then Zach Ertz isn't here.
Yeah, Ertz is, well, we don't know that yet, but theoretically he's gone.
Right.
I mean, Fulgham will be back, but like this team, they're not built to win anytime soon. This is the biggest rebuilding process since Andy took over in '99. But at least then, Ray Rhodes drafted, Jeremiah Trotter, Trey Thomas,
Brian
Dawkins, a couple guys that established a pretty good base for the future of the franchise. Who is not expendable right now for the Philadelphia Eagles? Like, if you were to say, hey, give me draft picks for that guy, who wouldn't you trade?
Okay, well, expendable and then tradable. I mean, I'd trade Zach Ertz. I think he can actually get you something back on the open market. But in terms of guys I don't want to lose, I don't want to be losing Lane Johnson. I don't want to be losing Jason Kelce, at least not yet. I mean, offensive line, you got to make sure is staying stocked, and I can't lose Brandon Brooks again.
But these guys are on the wrong side of 30. Lane's 32. Kelce, I'd be shocked if he comes back to this situation. Either he gets traded to the Chiefs or retires. I mean, Barry Brooks is an all-pro when healthy, but he's never healthy. Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they bring Jason Peters back.
Yeah.
There's one guy I would keep, honestly. Everybody else is expendable. Even Miles Sanders, because if they're not going to win for 2-3 years, there goes Miles Sanders' is prime, and there's shelf life for running backs.
Sure.
The only guy I would keep, Jordan Mailata. The only guy.
All right.
Cheap left tackle. I mean, he could turn into a Villanueva. He's the only guy that I would honestly, unless we're getting offered a first rounder for him, he's the only guy I would actually keep. Everybody else, Fletcher Cox, Brandon Graham, like McLeod, Darius Slay, like anybody on offense, really. Anybody on offense, even Goddard. Like, if you can get value for him, because this team ain't winning anything, at least this year. And then after that, who knows?
Wow. Well, at least you and I are on the same line of thinking as far as the offensive line goes. We need to make sure that stays intact in some way, shape, or form, even if it is holding on to Mailata. I mean, think about what he progressed to just in the last 3 years. I mean, he progressed to your guy that was your best starting left tackle this past season.
Yep.
I love it. All right. So Eagles stuff, obviously, we covered that and the Wentz going over there. What'd you make of him not getting his number from Michael Pittman Jr.?
I mean,
it's just funny. It's just funny.
It is what it is. I mean, it's a ballsy move by Pittman, to be honest with you, especially the guy who's going to be, I mean, he was a rookie last year, Pittman, but I mean, Wentz is going to be essentially controlling his destiny, especially as you saw how many times Wentz threw to his favorite targets in Philly. If Wentz finds his Zach Ertz over there, it might be Zach Ertz, to be honest with you. Eventually.
Yeah, really.
Then Pittman might only get, one target a game. But, I mean, Wentz could have handled himself better in Philly, obviously. But I got no ill will towards, I don't want to see him fail. I don't want to see him really succeed either. I don't want to see him fail.
The number one thing I want to see is him just play 75% of the snaps for the Colts and miss the playoffs. But I want to see them. I want to see them go out there and at least have him play 75% of the snaps.
Oh, no, he's going to play 74% of the snaps, and they're going to win the Super Bowl.
You know what? They're going to be so damn good. At the end of the year, they'll sit in the last 3 games, and he won't make 75%. Somebody else will.
Yeah.
Smitty, we can always catch you on Barstool, of course. You do great stuff with those guys. So make sure you check out all the things Smitty does for Barstool, representing Philadelphia rather well, I might add. You can check him out once again on the First Time, Long Time podcast, as well as Stool Gaming as well. So make sure you take advantage of all that that Smitty is offering us with fine content from my man. So thanks for joining us there on the Zatos Investments guest line. I'm looking at some of the comments. We'll get to them on the social media check-in. I'm looking at the YouTube comments, so we'll make sure we do that. But right now, we got to take care of some business. And you know what? Not to brag, I've been taking care of business. I've been taking care of business with DraftKings just a little bit. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app right now, America's top-rated sportsbook app, giving all new players the chance to cash $100. New customers can bet $1 on any team to hit a three-pointer in any basketball game this week. And if your team makes it rain, you can make it rain as well with $100 cash. That's right. It only takes one three-pointer being hit in any basketball game of your choosing to turn $1 into $100. This big shot of an offer right now, only available on the DraftKings Sportsbook app. So get in on all the apps and download the app in the App Store right now. If basketball isn't for you, DraftKings also has great things going on right now with daily hockey odds as well as soccer even. So take advantage of that if basketball isn't your thing. DraftKings has paid out over $7 billion to its customers since 2012, so they know a thing or two about big paydays. Right now, download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use promo code Farzy. That's promo code Farzy. Make sure you do that, and you can turn $1 into $100. That's right, with the DraftKings Sportsbook app, promo code Farzy for new customers to get a shot at 100-1 odds on any basketball team to hit a three-point shot only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Must be 21 or older, Pennsylvania only, new customers only. Restrictions apply. In partnership with Meadows Racetrack and Casino. Winnings pay out in 4 $25 free bets. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. And how about our friends at Zatos Investments? Do a great job sponsoring our guest line. Zatos Investments, an up-and-coming luxury real estate development company and investment company as well. So they do great things. They're crushing it right now in the Philadelphia area when it comes to the real estate game. They design and develop top-of-the-line custom homes and all around the city, ranging from small single-family rehabs to ground-up new construction townhomes and condo buildings. Zatos also works closely with their private investor base to provide them with substantial returns on their investment, ranging from 20 to 40%. How about that? Like I said, they're crushing it in the real estate game in Philly right now, so make sure you get in on all they have to offer and all they're doing in Philadelphia. To see their properties and to learn how you can invest with Zatos, reach out to info@zatosinvestments.com or visit zatosinvestments.com. We have a fun show announcement. How about this? A month into it. We're not even a month into it. We got a fun show announcement for you, and I'm excited to do this because I've never done this before. Maybe I've done this on Twitter, but I've never done it officially. And when you do it officially, you go to Reddit, and I'll be going to Reddit. And what am I doing on Reddit? A little thing we like to call an AMA. That's an Ask Me Anything for people like me that have boomer tendencies. That's an Ask Me Anything. Tomorrow, I'll be jumping on Reddit around noon, and I'll be doing an AMA. You can ask me anything. I'm game. Ask me anything, and I'll give you whatever. Help with your homework, Eagles questions, obviously, general things about me. Anything is on the table. I'll answer anything. So I'll be doing an AMA with Reddit tomorrow. Now, how do you do that? You go to reddit.com/r/Eagles, and I'll be on Eagles Reddit answering all your questions for our viewers, our listeners, our Twitchers, our YouTubers, our tweeters, anybody that's watching the show, anybody that's followed my career. I will be doing an AMA on Eagles Reddit, so I look forward to doing that. So make sure you check it out. Ask me anything. It's really simple. Ask me anything. It's literally the description is in the title. That's what we do. So I'll be looking forward to doing that tomorrow with you guys. I'll be teasing it on social media as well, so people know I'm doing it out there as well. So there you go. I look forward to doing that. I'm excited. I am an open book. Do want to give you right now our social media check-in and some people following the interview there with Smitty. We'll get the questions going right there and some other things that were going on. This is brought to you by our great friends at Steak and Maine in Northeast Maryland. Make sure you check out steakandmaine.com for our social media check-in. Cool bringing on guys like Smitty. That's Mac. He's hitting us up saying, yeah, Smitty's great. I've interviewed Smitty a bunch of times when I used to host a show called the 700 Level Show. Shout out to that. By the way, happy birthday to my former producer there, Aaron Telaznik, and my friend. Yeah, Smitty would come on and do the show there, the 700 Level Show, and he was always a great guest, and I think he represents Philly well in those a bunch of those Bostonians, as he mentioned during the interview. Ronald says he agrees with Smitty. I think that was the Ben Simmons question. I realize in retrospect, the way I asked it probably sounded like I was championing the cause. Trying to further along the cause that he doesn't deserve to make an all-star game because he doesn't shoot a jump shot. Not what I mean at all. But I had asked the question, but I get it. I agree. Taylor saying that's cool. Yeah, it was cool. Oh, Taylor also saying nice job month one. Thanks, Taylor. Appreciate that. Pete Norman checking in saying LOL, bleep Boston, go Smitty standing up for us. You know, here's my thing. Here's my thing with Boston. And I love visiting Boston. But it's funny. I feel like any Boston movie portrays this very accurately about Boston people. Boston people, I think, are always afraid of being one-upped. And that's why this phrase you hear time and time again in movies that depict Boston. And if you go to Boston, my Boston friends, I hear this. You think you're better than me? And I worked it in there with Smitty. You think you're better than me? And it's like this edge. Like people accuse us in Philly of having this like little brother complex. Like, oh, we got New York right there. We're kind of, DC, our nation's capital's down there. Like we're in the middle of all this. Like Boston, I think, has that more than anybody. It's like, oh, you think you're better than me? And it's like you've won how many NBA titles? What, 15? Whatever it was. You've won that many NBA titles. You've obviously owned the world in football with what the Patriots did over the last 20 years, minus that one time against the Eagles, even though, yes, you beat the Eagles that one time. But like there's that aura of like, you think you're better than me? Like they're always afraid of getting one up. And it's like, Boston, you're doing great. You're doing awesome. The Bruins, obviously, they could destroy the Flyers at will whenever they want. You're doing all right. Let us have this one thing. This one thing, Joel Embiid, probably the MVP of the league. And Smitty's trying to have that argument with those guys, and at least they're having him in the conversation. So I actually want to credit Boston for that, and you Boston sports fans for at least having that conversation behind the scenes at Barstool, that, yeah, you can entertain the possibility that Joel Embiid is a legit MVP candidate. And by the way, I'll also say this. Whenever I meet people from Boston outside of Boston, they're great. Whenever I've been in Boston, not so much. It's like in Boston, there's this kind of this aura, like I said, of like you think you're better than me, but also the mob mentality of everyone being together and again having that type of mindset where they don't want to get one upped. But anytime I've been outside of Boston, meeting Boston people, I have a great time. We're a bunch of bros. We have a good time. But once again, thanks to Smitty for checking us out. Sean's hitting us up. Philly better than Boston. I concur. I detect no lies in that statement. Colin, oh, yeah, there you go. You're giving me credit for my hot streak. We'll get to big bets a little bit later. I'll try to take care of that as well. So I appreciate you at least acknowledging what's going on with that. I'm actually hitting bets. Go figure. That's social media check-in brought to you by our good friends at Steak and Maine. How about this, ladies and gentlemen? We're going to get to our morning rush right now. We're going to give you some pertinent scores from the NBA. The Mavericks and the Celtics tipped off last night. This actually is going to play into my big bet segment as well. Celtics, they lost to the Mavericks. Heartbreaking fashion, 110-107. Luka Doncic just hit an insane three at the end of the game, went to his sweet spot, knocked down the three with 1/10 of a second left. So the Celtics lost last night to the Mavericks 110-107. Now the Nets beat the Kings 127-118. This is mind-blowing to me. James Harden has played for the Nets, 15 games? He's already sixth. Or excuse me, he's already second on the Nets all-time triple-double list. He got another triple-double last night. That was his sixth triple-double. He's already second on the all-time list. He broke a tie with former Sixer Sean Bradley, who had 6 triple-doubles when he was with the Nets. I forgot Sean Bradley even was with the Nets. When I think of him as not a 76er, I think of him as a Dallas Maverick, which is crazy. And Kenny Anderson also had 5 as a member of the Nets. Jason Kidd has 61, as you would assume. He's the leader in the clubhouse for the Nets. The Bucks beat the Timberwolves 139-112. Giannis dropped 37 last night. This was staying in the NBA world. This was wild. I saw this story yesterday, and I forget where I saw it, but I think it was the Inquirer. Tobias Harris had a conversation with Ben Simmons right around the James Harden trade. And Toby sensed that it was kind of weighing on Ben Simmons a little bit. And he went up to Ben and he goes, hey, man, look, I've been traded a million times, basically. And Tobias Harris had been. I remember interviewing Tobias Harris when he was just traded to the Sixers. And I asked him what he was looking for. And he was like, stability, trust, loyalty from an organization. And the Sixers certainly gave him that with a near max contract. So he's going to be staying in Philly for quite a while now. And he had been traded a bunch of times before he was traded to the Sixers. And I think 4 times already by the time he was 26. And he went up to Ben Simmons, sensing the angst about the possibility of being traded. And he goes, if you want to not think about being traded, the only way to do that is to win a championship. He goes, you win a championship. If we're able to win a championship, nobody's breaking us up. Nobody's looking at you saying you're gone. No one's looking at me saying, hey, you're gone. If you keep us together, including Joel Embiid, who's not going anywhere, JoJo, Toby, and Ben, you keep this together, you ain't going anywhere. That's the only way. And I love a veteran like Tobias Harris. And Ben Simmons is certainly no rookie anymore, but Toby sense this is the first time he's really being brought up. Ben Simmons is really being brought up for the first time in trade possibilities. It can weigh on somebody. He went up to him like a leader should, like the elder statesman on the squad should, and told him, look, man, the only way you can put this in the rearview mirror is if you win. And maybe that's what helps starting to get the wheels in motion and getting the mindset right for Ben Simmons, who just a couple of games ago was talking about getting his mind right and changing his mentality, changing his mental approach to the game. Maybe Toby helped put a quarter in that machine to get that going. And maybe that's what Ben Simmons needed, a little bit of a shakeup to at least start to get right one of those aspects of his game, which was knocking down those free throws that we talked about a lot earlier. So credit to Tobias Harris for that. And then this was one of the best things I saw yesterday. Health Commissioner Farley here in Philadelphia saying that they still have to adhere to what the state's doing with COVID and the protocols and all that stuff, but saying March 1st will be the opportunity for fans to return to games. Not packed stadiums, but specifically some fans, and it's not that specific, but some fans will be allowed to go to sporting events. And I was thinking about what I miss most about going to games, and it's like it's the things that you just kind of take for granted. Like first off, I just miss being around people. I certainly miss that. I miss the environment. I miss the atmosphere. But I was thinking about if I could go to the first game back, what would be the first thing I'd do? And you know what? It's funny. I know something. I can't wait for, just get a cold beer and sit there in the stands and watch the game. And honestly, for me, what I can't wait for is just to sit in the stands and eat some nachos. Like that, I swear, that's what I'm such a simpleton in that regard. But like, I miss sitting in like a crammed seat, trying not to spill nachos on my neighbor, whatever, because I always get the nachos, the grande deal, right, with the salsa and the cheese whiz and all that stuff. I love that stuff and the nacho cheese. I live for that every game. I don't think I've ever been to a sporting event and not gotten nachos as a fan and not gotten nachos. It's not like I'm sitting in a press box munching down on nachos in front of. I mean, the Eagles. Yeah, the Eagles had it in the press box for a long time, and at halftime, I would get some nachos. It was a reliable thing, and now not so much. But it's not like I would bring it from the concessions up there and be eating on all that stuff. But that's all I miss. I miss sitting in a cramped seat eating some nachos. What can I say? I'm a simpleton. So hopefully March 1st, we will start to see fans coming back to the stands. And finally, as part of our morning rush today, also just a reminder, the Flyers do play tonight against the Rangers, so check that out. Speaking of the Rangers, he's now with the Capitals, but I want to give a shout out to Henrik Lundqvist. January 5th, he had heart surgery. And this is what he did yesterday. Check out Henrik Lundqvist here. Just stopping pucks left and right. Already back on the ice, already stopping pucks. Less than 2 months coming back again. January 5th, he had heart surgery. Already back on the ice with the pads on, stopping shots left and right. I know with the Rangers, especially the outdoor game that was here in Philadelphia, I know that sticks in a lot of people's heads. I'm supposed to hate Henrik Lundqvist. I can't. You root for a guy like that that has handled everything with grace like that. So credit to him for getting back on the ice as soon as less than 2 months. I was just complaining about painting my ceiling and my neck hurts a little bit. This man's out there stopping pucks after having open heart surgery. God bless you, man. That was our morning rush brought to you by Sky Motor Cars. Check out skymotorcars.com. They got a vehicle for every budget. And I like their tweet yesterday. They were playing along with Hugh Douglas, who said he once paid $10,000 to get his number 53 back from former teammate Mark Simino, for his teammate at the time, Mark Simino. And Sky Motor Cars is like, hey, we got cars for $10,000 here, not just for $100,000, but $10,000 as well. Good job, Sky Motor Cars. Now time for our big bet segment, brought to you by none other than DraftKings. Ladies and gentlemen, I am now 10-1 in my last 11 games. I'll give you my big bet for tonight, but here's what happened last night. Last night, I bet the Nets. I told you yesterday I was going to bet the Nets, and I hit on the Nets last night. They made it interesting, but pulled away late in that game over the Kings. So credit to you guys. I had them at -6.5 or -6 going into that game, and they were able to cover that. So thank you to the Brooklyn Nets. Thank you, James Harden, in your triple double as well. So kudos to you guys. But here's what I didn't realize. I also bet the Sixers. Um, but I bet the Sixers. I only put like $5 on the game. And then I was like, you know what? I was bullish on them winning that game and covering on. And I told you guys I wasn't going to bet on the Sixers often, but I couldn't help myself last night because I knew they were going to win that game. And I thought, oh, they're definitely if they're going to win, they're going to win by more than 2. So I like them. So I ended up going back and betting again. I thought I changed my original bet. I did not. So I ended up betting on the Sixers twice. So I actually won all 3 of my bets last night. So thank you to the 76ers and the Brooklyn Nets for handling your business last night. But I'm not counting the Sixers because I didn't tell you guys I was betting it. So I'm not counting that. So I'm kind of really 11-1, but no big deal. I'm 10-1. The game I like tonight, yes, I know it's a back-to-back. The Celtics losing in heartbreaking fashion last night to the Dallas Mavericks on Luka's shot gives me confidence they're going to bounce back tonight in the second part of their back-to-back against Atlanta. In Atlanta, Boston -3.5. I like Boston tonight, covering that, taking care of business against the Atlanta Hawks. So I am betting Boston tonight. After I just railed on Boston, I'm showing confidence that the Celtics will at least win tonight. The Boston Celtics win tonight by more than 3.5, by 4 points or more, and they'll take care of business. That's my big bet tonight, going up Celtics against the Atlanta Hawks. Thanks for watching, everybody. Hope you enjoyed the program. As always, you can check us out on YouTube every single day. Mally's hitting us up. Great morning sports show out now. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. Make sure you check out the podcast version. It'll be uploaded shortly after the show. But thank you to everyone that followed us on YouTube, on Twitch, on Twitter as well. And my thanks to Barstool Smitty for hitting us up as always. My thanks, Jim Hyden, produced the program. This is a Buzz Sports and Entertainment production. My name is Marc Farzetta. We'll be back with you guys tomorrow, hoping to have a special guest for you. And remember, around noon tomorrow, I will be on Eagles Reddit as well to have some fun with all you people. Thanks a lot, everybody, for watching. Have a great rest of the day. We'll see you tomorrow.